So today we're going to do some more work on our elf bust. Figure I'll do a little more while I still got the palette set up for him before I have to wash it out and start it over again. So if you didn't join me last time, I just did a rough sketch of this guy's face. So today I'm just going to start doing a little bit of refining and chipping away, trying to make it look a bit neater and see how we go. That's pretty much it. So I got my references up in front of me. Again, if you didn't join last time, I'm trying to paint him. He's a bit like a wood elf, a little bit like some of the Lord of the Rings guys, you know, like Legolas and Thranduil. I've got some photos of those guys from The Hobbit up, and I'm trying to sort of copy some of the skin tones on this bust. We'll see how we go today. Yeah, doing well, man. How are you doing? I feel like I'm finally able to start getting back into doing my painting properly now, after a big break after Crimson Brush. Just about to start some meetings. Yeah, fair enough. Alrighty. So most of the light and dark on this guy is pretty much where I want it to be, and so now it's just going to be a matter of working in small sections and trying to make it look good, really. Start at his big forehead. This is where, like, last session it was pretty slapdash, but this time it'll be a little more patient, I guess. And again, if anyone's out there, let me know if you if I jump out of frame or anything and I need to readjust my positioning while I'm painting this guy. I'll try and keep an eye on the camera. I think we're losing a little bit of the highlights on his forehead. So I like to just go back in and block him back in. Yeah, I did post it online. I'm pretty sure I did. It'll just be a quiet one this morning. What I'll probably do is go on this guy for maybe an hour or two, and then I'll head off, maybe start building some models off stream to prepare for the next competitions, work on the next thing. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next though, still working it out. We'll see. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do. It will be really more like a lot of standing around and trying to work out what to do next, if I'm being honest. Yeah, that's true. It's all good content. So let's see. Hey Sebastian. Hey Sean, how you going? Welcome. So I was just saying before, if you guys missed it, I've done a bunch of the sketching on this guy last session, and now I'm just going to try and do a little bit of refining on him, see how we go. It's sort of like a little, I think his eyebrows are a bit more cranky. I have to paint in some eyebrows at some point as well. This all coming up all right on the camera for you guys. Evening for you. Did your streaming? Did your painting? How was your stream, Sebastian? Good? Okay, good to hear. I think he's got your backdrop for Cozy well underway. Are you doing a backdrop for it? I didn't realize. I've seen the photos you've been posting. Captain Jonesy, thank you for following. Appreciate it. Welcome. Palette's gotten a little chunky, but hopefully won't be too much of an issue. I haven't done any painting since the last stream on Sunday night. Had your buddy print the model. Back had some nasty layer lines, so figured you'd hide it. Yeah, fair enough, that makes sense. What I tend to find when I'm at this sort of stage where I'm just refining, a lot of I feel like I can get pretty directionless. And I'm just kind of pushing paint around on the model and not much is happening. But we got to trust that eventually it will look like something interesting. We'll see. Certainly has some dramatic lighting going on. Yeah, that's, I guess, the idea, right? Want to have him sort of lit from here. Big shadow in his face. We'll try and get it looking somewhat reasonable by the end of the day, or by the end of the stream, I should say. I don't think I'll be going all day. What, 11ish? Yeah, pretty much 10 to 11 in Sydney, where I am right now. Bang on. Almost 11 o'clock. So what I'm kind of doing is just really thin paint, sort of working it back and forth until we get our the sort of highlights and shadows that I blocked in last time looking a little more subtle, a little more gradual. We'll see how it ends up, I guess. In your process, do you normally focus so much and push one aspect so far ahead like you're doing with the face compared to the body? Or is this a piece that you are mostly only focusing on the head and not really going to do much on the body? To be honest, yes to both of those things. So I generally, what I've been doing lately, and like I feel like I'm still kind of working all of those things that you just asked about out. I don't really know if I've got a particularly formal way of doing everything just yet. I feel like I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. But what I like to do is sketch in his face, and then that's what I'll spend the most time working on. Like, this is an academic bust, right? It's mostly about his face. The cloth is all going to be pretty uniform. I won't do a huge amount of work to it. I'll mostly just try and get his face looking good, and then see how I feel like going on the rest of him. But generally I will then, like, once I've sort of sketched in where everything's going to head kind of roughly, I'll start choosing areas to get kind of roughly finished. So I don't know how far I'll get today, but the idea will be to try and get it like actually looking quite close to what I would consider done. I don't know. I mean, this is just a little practice guy. He's not a competition piece or something where I'm really pushing myself. He's just kind of like a fun one to get back in the swing of things, and something I can do on stream without it being too difficult, I guess. So that's the idea. Yeah, if that all makes sense. So again, like, what I'm trying to do now is really get the value sort of transitions, the light and dark transitions on his face to look a little more subtle. Not worrying actually too much about the final colors. I can kind of shift them around with glazes and things like that later. I just want the light and dark on his face to look right. And for some of these like patchy spots where a little bit of primer is still showing through to go away, pretty much. And doing lots of stippling to try and build up a bit of a skinny texture of skin. For me, I often push most things to 60 to 70% before really doing any focus or refining, unless there are things that are just hard to reach or assembled later or something. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, excuse me. I know plenty of people who kind of like work the whole model, and it kind of all finishes at one point. But for me, at least, I tend to like having finished spots on the model, so that I feel like I'm progressing. You know what I mean? Like each session, I want to feel like I've done stuff. I want to feel like there's a big change in what I've done at the end of the session from the start. So we'll see. I'm seeing a little tiny bit of texture in the paint building up, which is, you know, a bit annoying, but that's probably because I just left these paints on the palette for a day and they've kind of hardened and thickened a little bit. But if you get too much texture build up in your skin and it starts to look like patchy, obviously, you know, that's not ideal. But what I'll do is just sand it back with like a really fine grain piece of sandpaper, and that'll smooth it out, and then you can just fix up whatever painting mistakes you made. Jimmy D101, thanks for following, man. Welcome. So I think I'm going to try and build up this little fold in his eyebrow, if you can see, so he looks even crankier. He's not sort of want him to be looking sort of down, scrutinizing a little bit. Obviously he's not going to be too wrinkly, he's an elf. They got good skin. But we'll try and build up these creases. Hey Alexi, will you be coming to Arc Open? You know I wouldn't miss it. I will definitely be there. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do for it. I haven't really decided on much that I'll be painting to bring to Arc, but I'll definitely be coming 100%, unless something goes horribly awry between then and now. I'll certainly be down there. It's not long. I was just thinking the other day, like, it's only like 2.5 months, 8 weeks or 9 weeks, something like that. It's not a huge amount of time to work on stuff. I'll have a stern elf, clearly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a guy I would enter into a competition. To be totally honest, I don't even know if I'll finish this. But I'll certainly keep going with him for a while. So I'm trying to get a little bit of this colour, probably a bit excessive, into his eyebrow. I think I'm going too light. Let's see. At the bottom of this eyebrow, I think it'd be a little more shaded. Painting for stream or streaming to paint? Exactly. How you doing, Seamus? How's your morning been? Are you gonna switch to painting your Spira now that it's arrived? And the big lion was giving you trouble? So we want him looking, starting to get nice and cranky. Bloody crags everywhere, I reckon. Can't get rid of this guy. Got to work on Lou still, though it did have me looking at it. Sebastian, I just got my Spirit today. May open that next stream. I have a lot more tabletop painters in my community so far. Could be fun for them. Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool model as well, right? So, as if people won't want to see you work on it. I have no idea when I'll get to mine, but it'll be fun when I do. Kind of flattening this eyebrow a bit too much. It's not looking that good, is it? Sometimes that happens. I feel like, I'm sure you guys can relate to the fact that sometimes you feel like you're doing a bunch of paint and then it starts looking worse and you got to go make it look good again. But I think that's just something that happens. I'm in a mood, Jimmy. Got a favourite character on the Spira? Well, I don't know if that's directed at me or the guys in the chat, but personally, I don't know. It may be the barbarian guy that's sitting at the back. He's pretty cool. I make models look worse frequently. Seamus, I've been collecting the mod like Infinity Stones. Exactly. Where are you not moderating? What do you think of that forehead? Are we looking good? I don't know. We'll see. Love a bust of just the barbarian. It'd be nice. Some other cool barbarian models. I wish the Black Crow barbarian, that's obviously very clearly inspired by the same like old, Conan the Barbarian artworks and stuff like that, was still available. That was such a good model. But I don't think they sell it anymore, unfortunately. quick little filter across the skin to blend things together. See how we look when it's all dry. I'm not really too sure about this guy. I feel like he's coming up okay, but nothing too crazy. We'll see. Let's try and do a little bit more to his cheeks as well. I like the Gimli. He's got such a cranky little baby vibe. That is true. He does look like a cranky little boy, doesn't he? Looks like Mum told him he can't have candy. Maybe he wants to be holding the dice. You know, the other ones. The little hobbit is holding the dice. Anyone going to try and be the first person to have theirs painted? I'm sure there's already someone out there giving it a go. Still need to finish up Cozy and been slacking on the 75mm half-orc Superman from Hex. I don't even know how to get the thing on a painting handle. Fair enough. And then probably easier than racing for the king, yeah. I think this Spira will certainly take a lot longer than painting the king. You know, 1 bust versus 5. Such a big and intimidating task. It would be fun to have him for Arc. Yeah, I mean, look, you still got a long time till Arc, right? It's certainly possible to do. If you wanted to. Might be tricky, but, you know, it's not impossible. Sit all in one chunk, hands and weapons separate. Bring it on if you like. Give me 2 seconds, I'll go grab him. Give people who don't know what we're talking about a look. Alrighty. Boxes always smell so good from Spira. Here we go. What do we reckon? In focus-ish. Got to zoom out a little bit. So mostly one big chunk, but you know, we got separate hands, staff, bow, top of the hat, and a horn. But 5 guys in mostly one large chunk. So it'll be a cool one to paint, but might take a little while to work out how I'm going to do it. Yeah, pretty cool. I feel like there's a lot of ways you could sort of put it on your plinth as well. I feel like Spira's kind of Lucas has kind of designed it to be that as your main angle. I think you could probably play around with it a little bit, facing some different directions, depending on how you're going to mount it. I'm not sure. We'll see how we go. Anyway, back to actual painting. Oops. Alrighty. Here we go. So let's see if I can get this. He's got like a, from my reference photo, like these highlight that goes down his cheek, connects all the way to like just above his mouth, like this. And then I'll probably brighten up the side of his nose just a little bit. Just a little bit. Sorry. No mount, just sit on the table. How are people going to hold it? They'll rub off all the paint if they handle it too much. You guys still see everything okay? Maybe not too dramatic a shadow, maybe that's overdoing it in that that right side cheek a little bit. We'll see. I'm mostly, like, this looks pretty janky on the shadow side, but I'm mostly just going to worry about the light side, like the forehead and maybe this part of his cheekbone for this session. I think try and get it looking somewhat like something. Where are we? Let's get just the tiniest bit of blue going in some of the skin tone. Cool. Exactly, pretty high standards, getting looking somewhat like something. Exactly. I'm not really sure. I can't decide if I should give him like a bit of, not quite 5 o'clock shadow, or if I should make him like fully clean shaven. Omega on Edge, beautiful. Thanks, man. Welcome to the stream. How you going? We'll make it at least a little bit of a cooler skin tone down the bottom. I don't know if I'll go all the way into making him look, sort of unshaven or anything. Glad you started streaming. Thanks, man. I'm glad you're... That's a nice thing to say. Hopefully people will enjoy seeing me paint something. After Talking Heads at Crimson Bee. Did anyone here watch much of the Crimson Brush streams? I know you would have, Sebastian, right? I'm also glad you did. First time I've caught you live so far. Ah, thanks, man. Appreciate it, appreciate it. I think at some stage I'll pop the stream VODs onto YouTube or something. I don't know. I don't know if this will become a real integral part of painting. I don't know. Just a little bit or all of it, yeah. I assumed you would have been pretty active in the streams. I haven't gone back and watched all of it. Obviously, like, some of it, I couldn't watch because I was there. Some of it I've watched back, but not that much. We did watch the judging stream live. Like, me and some of my friends, like, we left the event and we went back to the Airbnb and, like, watched the stream. That was pretty fun. Although Seamus was stuck assisting, wasn't he? While they were judging his models in front of him. Alright, that's actually looking alright. And then I'm going to try and make this line under his eye quite strong, I think. Let's see if I can get in there and actually make that interesting here. We'll see how we go. Probably a little intense. Yeah, someone had to be helpful. Exactly. I was not very helpful at all. Despite, Dave asking me to help. I didn't actually do anything. Gonna try and just like black line this little hair strand a little bit more intensely than it will end up being at the end, just so it'll help me work out what I'm doing in here. Sorry if you can't see this, it's a hard spot to reach. I'll show you in a sec. So obviously I'm trying to give him like really light, like, almost platinum blonde elf hair. So it's not going to end up being as dark as this line, but just over darken it so that I can see where the skin ends and the hair begins while I'm painting in here. And again, I mentioned on the last stream when I was sketching, like, I like to do a really reddish tone here under his eyebrows. Can you guys see that? It's very red. And then I'll kick it back a little bit. To be honest, I tend to leave this little fold under the brow fairly red because, like, you never really hold the model up like this to look at it. And so from the main angle, it just kind of gives it, I think, quite a cool effect. Oops, made a little mistake on his nose. We'll paint over that in a little while. Might finally make use of some of this magenta. Paint started to go a little chunky for being left out over the past 2 days. Sometimes I catch a glimpse at, like, my webcam of myself and it's just a fat shot of my forehead. That's a really good angle, isn't it, guys? I don't really know how you could set up a webcam to make you not look ridiculous while you're painting, to be totally honest. I don't know, maybe other painters have worked it out. So just using a little bit of the magenta to, like, line in under his eyes and, like, the corner of his eyes. You know how you got, like, little red bits here and here. His eyes are pretty small, so it doesn't have to be very much. So, if I can, like, I always try to get, like, the most saturated parts of color, like, around the eyes in some way. So whether that's, like, using, like, some pure magenta, pure red, like from Chimera, those colors are so powerful. Even if you cover them up mostly, when you see the model in person, like, it kind of really draws you to the model's eyes. And so as long as you're doing a good job with them, then it'll help keep the focus on the spots you want it to be. Alright, going well so far. In about 20 minutes or so, I'll have to take a bit of a break because Twitch will make me. What's going on here? Sorry. But until then, keep going. So maybe I'll get not too much blue, but a bit of bluish skin tone to try and do like the bags under his eyes. I assume like an elf won't really have like really I got pretty bad like circles. I'll give him a little bit of like a bluish tint to the shadow, but he's an elf, you know, like I mentioned before, they tend to have pretty good skin, so not too excessive. Usually I try to draw people away from the model's eyes. Yeah, I mean, leisureism, you know, if you can get them pointing in the right direction, it'll be fine. Thanks for joining us as well. But on models like this, like when it's a larger scale model, you know, people are going to look at the eyes. This model is literally a face. Like, it's the first thing people are going to look at. So, you know, we try to spend some time, make them look good if you can. Because there will definitely be a main thing people look at on a bust, or one of the main things people will look at. This guy does have, as I mentioned before, pretty small eyes though. Like, I don't know, can you see? They're not big. Yeah, I love all the little things you can do at the bust scale as well, Sebastian. This guy's quite a small bust. I mean, I don't know, maybe he's not that small. Compare him to the Spiro we were looking at before. Oh, where are we? Like, it's not that different, I guess. Although the Spiro, like, you can tell how much, you know, Lucas is one of the best sculptors because everything is so accessible. Like, the eyes on this model are just right where you'd want them to be able to paint them well. Where with this guy, like, they're very deeply set, and especially this right eye is very hard to get to with your brush. Just fine, obviously, like, that's the model, the type of model the sculptor's trying to make, but it just makes it a little harder to paint. You started doing stray baby hairs, freckles, liver spots, splotchy skin, red knuckles. Yeah, absolutely. All the kind of things that hopefully will make the model look a little more realistic. I just made a big error there. Let's try and wash that away. Whoops. Yeah, particularly on the grandma Mama Noma, I really tried to put a lot into the skin of that. This guy's going to be an elf, so it's mostly just going to be pretty smoothish skin. Lucas does love his squinted eyes. The halfling is the only one with almost open eyes. True, but most of them look like they'll be pretty easy to paint, I think. Except for the dwarf. I think the dwarf has really tiny eyes. They'll be hard to paint, I think. Just because they're so small. But because they're so small, you don't need to do too much. Similar to this guy, like, to be honest, because his eyes are so small, I won't actually need to do that much to him. But we'll see. Getting distracted by a few spots up here on the forehead. So I'm just trying to look at him from a distance to try and see how it's coming along. Sometimes I need to zoom out a little bit to see how we're going. All right. Not too bad. So I'm just overshading under his eyes again a little bit. And I'll try and bring it back in a little while. Like make these lines a little more subtle. They look a bit extreme at the moment. So if you can kind of see, I've just done in a few lines here under his eyes and near his nose, just to try and separate out where these volumes are. They won't stay there, but one of the things I learned, like painting with Jordan, that's really helped a lot is to just while you're doing, even if you're in the middle of refining and you're painting something that's going to be quite, subtle and have lots of subtle details, sometimes you just need to put in some really bold markers on the skin, like, super light, super dark, of where even subtle changes in the color or the brightness or whatever is going to be, just so that you know where you're working. That's been quite helpful. Sorry. Just a second. There we go. Alright. I'm going to try and really define where the shadow ends as well, like here. I think that looks about right. Oops. Didn't realise there was a bunch of water there on the palette. Just making a really dark red-brown on the palette here. That's for some of the absolute deepest shadows in the corners of the eyes and like folds around his eyelids and stuff. Jesus. This is another like difference between models that are digitally sculpted and hand sculpted is sometimes like the crevices that are digitally sculpted, like they must not realize like how deep and turny they get. Like they get so hard to reach with your brush, where like if it's a hand sculpted model, they would have had to hand sculpt all the crevices, so they would have had to get in there with a tool that's not unlike a paintbrush, so your brush is always going to be able to get into those spots a bit easier, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong about that completely, I don't know. Going to be painting the fur for 2 weeks at the rate I'm going. Well, the photo you sent me looks pretty good, man. I think, you know, it'll turn out well if you keep it up, you know. Hand sculpt supremacy. I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, I prefer hand sculpted models. It's just a difference, especially when you've got someone like who's really good at it. But I like the sharpness that you can get with the digital sculpts. Jeez, his eyes looking real shadowy now, isn't it? That's cool. What color eyes should I give him? Maybe I give him like really bright green eyes, hey? I don't have any green on the palette. Let's see if I can get, what do we reckon, like this? You guys see this kind of green? Maybe I'll do his eyes like this. Digital sculpts done by sensible sculptors who understand painters are the best. Yes, obviously, that is the case. We love it when the digital sculptors do good. Well, we love it when everyone does a good job, obviously. But you get, like, you know, I understand with a lot of digital sculptors, you know, like when the sculpt is done, you want it to look cool, like a thing that's a cool sculpture. But if you're making it to be painted, I was talking to Sebastian about this on Sunday, and he said, like, one of the things that he's sort of tried to get his head around, so for anyone who doesn't know, Sebastian is other Sebastian, not you, Sebastian Miniatures, Veiled Lamp Sebastian. He's an Australian hand sculptor. Someone drop his website, Veiled Lamp, in the chat for us so we can link some models. He's a hand sculptor from Australia, and he was saying one of the things that's helped him is to think about, like, the sculpts he does for painters as 90% done, and then the 10% is to be done by the painter. The remaining 10% is to be done by the painter. And you know, if you're making a sculpture, like as a sculptor for like an art gallery or something like that, you got to make the whole sculpt. But if you're sculpting for a painter, you got to, you know, not actually finish sculpting, and then let the painter finish the piece, I guess. That was sort of what he was getting at. And I thought, that sounds, you know, that sounds pretty interesting. It sounds about right, I guess. Not that I know really anything about sculpting. Okay, guys, in about 10 minutes or so, I'll take a break. Stand up, stretch my legs, grab a drink, probably for about 5 minutes, and then when I get back, I'll keep going. I'm starting to like how he's shaping up. I'm just trying to get a little bit going in his eyes. Obviously the one that's a little more reachable by brush, and then I'll do the other one afterwards. Nice. It's a much more collaborative process, definitely. It's interesting. As a painter, I usually think of it as collaborative storytelling, and the sculptor gives me a writing prompt. That's an interesting way of thinking about it, to be honest. Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, obviously we are at the whims of the sculpt, but we can always reinterpret the sculpt. We can convert it. We can do lots of other things. It's obviously different to traditional art painters who get to make up their sculpt from scratch. I also convert quite a few of the pieces. Yeah, I'm personally not a huge converter, but I do like to try and reinterpret them a little bit sometimes if I can. This one, not really. He's pretty much played straight down the line. I mean, he's a little different. I think I'll try and show on camera, but my version is going to be... Oh, where are we? Here we are. He's going to be looking kind of like this, right? Can we see that well? Like sort of off to the side a little bit. Where I think they've kind of designed him like as if that's your main angle. Like he's looking, if you imagine his eyes pointed straight at the camera like this, where mine's kind of a little bit off to the side. So changing the angle a little bit. It's not very much of a change, but a little bit. For me, it just depends what I'm trying to tell with the piece. And if a bit of conversion helps my storytelling, there's no reason not to. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. Alright. So, can we see, we've gotten the eyes pretty well blocked in, the colour. Not sure how well this is visible on the camera, but I'll have to shade them a little bit. Might save that for after I get back from the break in a couple minutes. Let's say, oh look, I might just take a break now and I'll come back in sort of 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, Twitch will get mad at me. So, little break now. I'll grab a quick snack and a drink. I'll play this ad that it's making me play, and I'll be back in 5 or so, maybe a bit less. We'll see how we go. All right. So where were we? Doing some eyes. So let's keep going. So we got our color, this bright green.
You will need to unlock
Oh,
which room? Kitchen.
Sorry about that. My phone started trying to talk to me. If it's a larger scale bus, like a 110, or, I mean, to be honest, this is apparently 112, but, you know, I feel like the 112, 110, 1 whatever scale that the manufacturers of busts use are like, you know, everyone has their own definitions of what that means. But if the bust is a slightly larger scale, you can usually do quite a lot with the eyes, but when they're this small, it's kind of hard to really get in there. You want to try and, normally, what I would try to do is kind of paint the color of the iris in lines so that it kind of gives that impression of, you know, how your iris is little lines. But I think this guy's eyes might be a bit too small for that. Let's see. Sorry, I'll find it hard to talk for a little bit while I'm getting into the hard to reach spots. So the other thing with the eyes is the brightest points. You know, if you've painted many like gemstones, you kind of paint the irises like that, where the brightest point is directly opposite where the light is. So on this right or left eye, my right, his left, we'll try and have it, I don't know, can you guys see very well? So that the bottom corner is brighter than the top corner, even though obviously on his face, you know, the top corner is brighter. Not bad. Now we got to try and give him a pupil, which is always a tough bit. Use your pointy brush. think that looks good. So for anyone wondering, this is a Raphael 8404 size 2 I'm using. As long as the brush is pointy, you don't have to use like a really tiny micro, you know, 0.3 size whatever brush. If it's got a good point, it should be good enough. So I'll try and get the white of his eyes in the corner of his eye here. Placed back in. There we go. Cool. All your brushes look tiny to me. It's about the tip, not the size. Exactly. Girth is a secondary factor. See, I like a girthy brush because it will hold more moisture. That's why I like these Raphael ones. I feel like I should try the Winsor and Newtons again, but they're just expensive. I had this exact conversation during the last stream, but you know, whatever. Alright, just a second, I'm zooming in on a image here. Now, technically, too much girth is an issue for me, even if it has a nice tip. Fair enough. The rosemary brushes are good for that. Very long, good tip, but very thin. A little thin, a little long. Now, this eye that I've just painted is entirely in shadow. So when the eyes are in shadow, you know, you don't really need to dot them with a point of light. But sometimes I still like to, just because I feel like it. So I'll try and put a little point of light here on the inside somewhere. And if it doesn't work, I'll paint over it. It's not doing super well right now. So just taking my pure white. Not great yet. Might need a slight modification. Sorry if you guys can't see this well, but you're just going to have to deal with it while I'm doing this. Eyeball. Alright, I'll try and show you close now. What do we think? Oh, it won't be in light. How about this? Let's see if I can get a good view of it. There we go. Trying to hold him steady. What do we reckon? Left eye. Pretty good. Decent enough, I think. Cool. Now to do the other one. Oh, Jesus. Look how filthy my lens is. You see the black spots here near my hand? Get out of here. I need to clean it. I'll do that for next time. Alright, let's try the other one. It's always easy to do one eye, but to do the second one and make it facing in the right direction, that's a real challenge. Alrighty. See how we go. Again, if you guys can't see this, you'll just have to wait a little while because it's a choice between the two of us seeing things. I'm going to have to choose me being able to see it so I can actually paint it. For actual IRL makeup, it's suggested to do your non-dominant eye first because it's in theory harder. So you should make the easy to do side match instead of trying to match on the hard side, at least for eye makeup. You know, to be honest, I wish you had said that to me before I did the easy eye, because now I'm doing the hard one. That's a great idea. I'm gonna try and follow that next time. The thing is, I guess when I'm doing like a model, like a competition model, or even just something I'm really trying hard on, I think it's not necessarily about trying to match them, it's them trying to match the vision of the model. So even if you get one right on the hard side, you're just going to have to repaint it regardless if it's wrong. But that is actually really good advice, I think. Do the eye that's harder to get to first, because then you can make the easier one to get to, like match the harder one. That's really good advice, I think, actually. I'll steal it and pretend I came up with it. Alright, I think... No, they don't quite look right. But we're getting there. I think we're getting there. Actually, I think that might be it pretty much. Alright. Now let's do our sometimes I know things exactly. That's a good one. It's funny how much like a miniature painting, like advice and like tips and tricks and stuff you can learn from seeing people do makeup. Like it's actually kind of crazy. This, you know, it makes total sense that people who are good at doing makeup would be good at painting models, because they're kind of doing the same thing, painting sculpts, right? Like their own faces, because you know their face is their face, and they're just giving it some color. Nope. Tip of the brush has gone a little dry, I think. Yep. Dry. We lost it, folks. I think overdid the dot in the white of his eye. It's covered up a bit much, but that's okay. Hopefully I can fix this a little bit. Sorry, I'll read your comment in a second, Sebastian. I'm just going to try and do this first. So, I wish I knew makeup proper. It's exactly what contouring is, shaping the face the way you want with makeup. I just used to watch a lot of competition shows, including makeup competition, but that was more over-the-top theatrical stuff. Yeah, fair enough. I definitely think there's a lot to be learned. One of the things, though, I always find like tough to be, I guess, a little aware of is that a lot of the time people doing makeup, it's like to smooth parts of their face, change the color and things like that. And if you're looking for like reference photos of people, if they've got heaps of makeup, it can like change like the natural colors of their face to the point where, like, if you're trying to replicate that on your model, it just ends up without having a lot of nuance. And I don't know what I'm trying to get at, like what the point of that is, but just something I noticed, I guess. Like, if you're using reference photos to paint, pick them well, I guess. We're kind of getting there. Sorry, I've gone a bit quiet while I'm just trying to do the tricky bits. Alright, there we go. Nearly there. Very nearly there. So I don't know if you guys are actually able to see what I'm doing, but I tend to lose the good looking eye, regain it, lose it again, regain it, and then hopefully by the time we're done, we've got it again. Alright, I think maybe we do. Almost. Tiny bit more black. My eyes are defocusing a little bit. Wonder if I should get my eyes tested. I feel like I got good vision, but I've never had my eyes tested before. Nearly. Oh, I think we got it. If you're using reference photos, as if you don't use 100 per model. The thing is, Seamus, I do use a lot of reference photos, but I generally only use one, maybe two for the person's skin and face. Definitely you should use reference photos, everyone who's watching this. If you're trying to paint, especially a model like this, it's a good idea to have a reference image or two up that you can look at and try and try and borrow something from. My buffet's in the way. Alright, let's try and show you guys what they look like. There we go. What do we think? Good. So it's hard for me to hold him steady because I'm not leaning up against anything. Ooh. There. Pretty good eyes, I think. Pretty good. Now I'm going to make the rest of the face look good. Sorry, and get him back in focus. There we go. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's looking good. All the eyes at least. Again, please let me know if anything pops out of focus or anything. I've tried to, maybe I'll pop it back on autofocus again and see if that actually helps. Because I've had it autofocused a few times and I feel like whenever I do, it kind of goes crazy. Yeah, it's going crazy again, so let's not do that. Okay. Back to the face. No, we're out of focus. Sorry. Professional streaming. Looking good. Alright. Cool. That's pretty good. Oh, man. I feel like that was taking it out of my eyes a little bit. Let's do some simpler parts. Oops. Under the eyelids and stuff. Or under the brow, I should say. There we go. Try and make you guys be able to see a little more. Again, if anything's drifting, I'll try and do things more on camera now for you, but if anything drifts too much, let me know. And I have to put it back on camera. Alrighty. So, just getting some more colours going here on the palette. Figuring out camera angles is the real raid boss of display painter streaming. Yeah, I reckon. I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. I'm not sure my camera is the best camera to be doing this. It's a really good quality camera, but it's really more of a photo camera than a video camera. What do you use, Sebastian? Particular camera for your painting? Do you use a lens, mirrorless, like interchangeable lens camera, or do you use a video camera? At least it hasn't burned itself out today. Yeah, exactly, Joe. How you doing, man? Yeah, last time it was just overheating to the max and had to turn itself off all the time, but I think I've fixed that by changing a few settings. Hopefully that won't happen again. Maybe if I end up going for like hours and hours and hours it will, but hopefully not. Yeah, mirrorless, but that's a recent thing, is using your phone as a webcam for... What mirrorless camera do you have, Sebastian, if you don't mind saying? I'd be curious to know. Basically overhead, looking close to straight down, so I tilt the model slightly between steps to show things. Yeah, my thinking with the camera setup was I wanted it as close to, like, Even if the angle was a bit awkward, I didn't want to have to paint differently. Like I didn't want to have to hold the model differently to how I normally would. So that's sort of how I've tried to set it up so that I can paint pretty naturally. Let me go look. I don't know the numbers off the top of your head. Fair enough. Is it getting late there in wherever in America you are? Sony ZV-E10. Oh, I don't know what that is. I have a Sony camera as well, but I don't know that model. 8 p.m. Oh, fair enough. Whereabouts in America are you? Your exact address, please. Let's get some doxing going in the chat. No. Fair enough, New York State. Cool. I've been to New York twice. A fair long time ago though. Like, well, first time was like, I don't know, 13 years ago, something like that. And then maybe I've only been once. Have I only been once? I don't know. I've definitely been once in 2016. 2015. Around that. I think I have only been once. So, ignore me. Don't know what I'm talking about. Been to New York once. It was fun. We stayed in a really touristy spot near like Times Square, and I don't think I would stay there again. It was nice because we went to like a lot of theatre, but Jesus, so busy. I think I'd prefer to stay somewhere a little quieter next time I go there, if I get a chance to anytime soon. Which I don't know if I will, but we'll see. I don't spend much time in the city, never for longer than a weekend. Yeah, fair enough. It's a big stage, isn't it? Alright, trying to really get these little volumes, highlights and shadows in his eyes looking pretty good now if I can. So really like honing in, less broad strokes, more little dots. Too much stuff going on, too much noise and smells. Certainly a lot of noise and a lot of people, but I really enjoyed being there. But yeah, definitely was don't know if I could live there. 6-hour drive top to bottom, yeah, that's big. Okay, probably, if you can see this line under his eye, it's looking a bit extreme at the moment, so I'll try and turn it back a little bit so that it's not looking quite so ridiculous. Anyone else painting at the moment? Or is it just me? Are we all being lazy? Pick up the brushes, fellas. And get going. Did your time today? Fair enough. Well, you just get to watch me try and work out what I'm doing then, I guess. So I mentioned before, like I did some pretty extreme lines on his face, and now I'm just trying to tone him back a little, make him a little more subtle. You want to see where she's at the moment? Yeah, sure. You already know I'm working on Big Lou Seamus. Yeah, good. I'm keen to see how that shapes up. I thought it was looking pretty cool, the last one you sent me. Oh, look at this big giant link. Let's have a look. Oh, nice. The sweater's looking good. Face looking nice. Yeah, good work, man. It's looking cool. Are you hand painting all that that backdrop, or is it modelled or anything? That's a flat plastic card. Oh, nice. Yeah, cool. I did see the Eric feedback stream where he talked about it a little bit. Not quite, folks, not quite. I worked on that last night, about 2 hours of refining and reshaping the face and hair, working off his feedback. Yeah, nice. It's cool that he's doing that that feedback stream thing. I think that's a good idea, especially for sort of people newer to display painting. I mean, I think it's pretty cool to have access to someone with his like skills that's willing to put their time out there. Give people feedback like that. I think it's going to be quite helpful to a lot of people. I was gifted a subscription just randomly in the chat by someone, by Roxanne, I think. But I don't know if I should ask him for feedback on anything, to be honest. I feel like I'm sort of at a stage where rather than asking someone like Eric for feedback, I'd rather just I'm trying to work it out myself a little more. I don't know, maybe I'll ask on this guy at some stage. We'll see. Yeah, merit to both, absolutely. I think especially like if you're at a point with display painting where like you're looking at a model and you're like, what do I do? Like, how do I make this better? What do I do to make this better? I can't see it. Like, especially if you're having trouble seeing it. Having trouble seeing what's wrong. Knowing how to push something. I think it's really, really good. Get feedback from someone like him who, if you enter a competition, there's a non-zero chance that he'll be the one judging it. Running out of brush strokes, not knowing where else to put the brush strokes to make things better. Yeah, that's it's definitely a thing. Definitely a thing. I'm gonna have to give this guy eyebrows at some point, but maybe not this session, maybe another time. We'll see. I feel like it's getting somewhere now. Still not perfect, but certainly getting somewhere. Sorry if the palette camera is not super visible. I decided after doing the last stream, like, I had the palette sort of off to the side a bit more. It was like positioned a bit further away from me on the desk, and it was too hard to work with. So now I got it closer to me, but I know it's getting a bit of shadow from my hands because I'm like right over the top of it. But that's just how I'm used to working. So it's either that or I can't really paint on stream, and for now we want to paint on stream. Alright. So reinforce some of these little spots on the chin, on his lip. Need to paint his lip color in a bit as well, to be honest. Just find more brush strokes. It's simple. Exactly. Just find more brush strokes. I've really desaturated this skin quite a lot. I'll have to bring some more color back into it at some stage. But that can be done whenever. Let's reinforce this hair a little bit. So just every once in a while now taking a step back to look at him from a bit further away. Actually, the only thing that's a little different now to how I would normally paint is normally I actually don't have the light on this bright. Have it a little less bright. But because of the camera, I have to have it really bright. Hey man, I don't always know how to make things actually noticeably look better, and when I have plenty of models to paint when that happens, so I just move on. You know, it's not a terrible way of doing things. I think having a few projects to switch between is not a bad way to do it. I tend to try to stick to a project, I guess. I guess it depends. I mean, Seamus can tell you through last year, I definitely started and stopped on a lot of different things. Instead of finishing them. Like, I don't know if I'll finish this guy, like I mentioned. I think I'll try to, but I'll probably only paint him on stream. If I can. I'll save the off-stream painting for some other stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I got a lot of models I want to do for competitions soon. I don't know if I'll be able to paint them on stream or not. I'll sort of see how we go. Like, I just think I might need to be a bit more comfortable. I might not be able to start and stop painting as much as I have been. We'll see. Gabby's GTTV followed. Oh, that was ages ago. Sorry, I missed the notification that came up. But thanks for following. If you're still there. Not too bad. If you hear me just saying, how are we going? Not too bad. I'm just trying to convince myself the model's working out alright. I tend to do that even when I'm not streaming and trying to fill the silence. Maybe I should get some music going or something. Although I don't really know what the rules are for Twitch with music. I assume you're not really meant to play music while you're streaming, hey? Still don't really know half of how this works. Only finished 2 models between August and Jan, but to be fair, they were decent. Yeah, well, exactly. I did finish 3 models between August and January, Seamus. It's just one was a Warhammer gaming model, a single orc. So 3 models, but only 2 that count, I guess. Sebastian, not sure if it's different there, but here you just need to separate it out of the VODs or they get angry at you for copyright, but music during stream is fine. Oh, okay, fair enough. Or you can play copyright free music, or I think you can mute it out of the VOD somehow. Okay, well, I'll have to look into that a little. That might be the way to go. But to be honest, when I do usually listen to something while I'm painting, like usually an audiobook or some YouTube video or podcast, something like that. But if I'm like, really getting going on painting, it doesn't really bother me. I don't mind the silence sometimes. It just kind of happens. Kragzog. I forgot Snickrot. Meanwhile, I brought like 6 to 7 new models to Crimson. Well, I was going for quality, not quantity, my friend. Yeah, only 2 new models between July and January for competitions. A pretty weak effort, isn't it? I feel like you both spend much longer painting pieces than I do, which shows in the end result. How long's it been taking you to do this this coffee girl, Sebastian? How long have you been working on that? I reckon calendar time. I do tend to work on stuff for a while, but I don't really know what it ends up as time, like hours time. Cozy with my sculpting in the backdrop and it being on stream where I break for ads and talk and such has been 17 hours. Okay, that's pretty good. Not a huge amount of time, to be totally honest. I don't know how long it takes me to do stuff. I know in calendar time, Vi was 2 months. I reckon it would be 100 hours, maybe. Maybe more, maybe less. It's really, actually, genuinely hard to say. King of Thule, 11 hours, Mama Noma 6. Yeah, I don't do anything that quick, I think. Well, to be fair, how long have I been going on this, right? I've been streaming now for 1:40. The last stream was 2 hours, but to be totally honest, probably in the last stream, cut 30 minutes off of that, maybe more. So maybe an hour and a half, and then this time, probably an hour 20, an hour 30 of actual painting, instead of just, in between all the talking and all that, So, maybe this guy will end up being short. Who knows? But yeah, it is really hard to know exactly how much time. I know, in January, I think I have it written down how much time I spent on Vi. I think I actually wrote it down in a diary or something. But I don't know how much I did in December. I think it was 60 hours or something in January. I don't know. I'd have to double check. I definitely don't think you need to spend crazy hours on projects. I think people kind of overestimate how long you have to do. Sometimes that can happen. I don't know. I was using a stopwatch while painting out of curiosity for a while, but now I have to stream times to look at. Yeah, fair enough. Are you basically just only painting when you're streaming now? Or all painting time is also streaming time, sort of thing? I don't think I could do that. I think I definitely will not be able to do all the painting on stream that I do. No way. Sorry, everybody. If you were wanting me to stream everything, I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to do that. For some projects, yes, but not for others. Yeah, fair enough. Trying to keep stream projects as stream projects. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that too. Hey, you can see him down here. Jesus, his skin is very pale, isn't it? What do you guys think of this skin tone? Is it looking particularly convincing to you guys? I'm a bit unsure about it. But again, I can add more colour to the skin later. It's looking a little strange, but that's okay. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Jonas. Actually, in the, well, not in the middle of a stream, but, you know, in the stream while the stream's still going. How are you, man? Doing well? Skin would be better if it was green. I don't think so, man. Doing lots of painting. I saw your sort of black and white fire lady. That was pretty cool. What are you working on now? Anything new? Surely. You seem to go project to project pretty quick. Two commissions and a box art. Very cool. Exciting times. Particular models or can't say just yet? Galapagos dwarf guy. Oh, the one that's like riding a boar. That's a cool model. Nice. Model's looking good, by the way. Love the colors. Thanks, Jonas. I appreciate it. Tim, it's midday. Yeah, well, not all of us have jobs, am I right? How are you, Tim? Doing well? We got to be painting all the time. And also, yeah, given it's midday, shouldn't you be doing some work? Making us some shirts? Twitch doesn't usually show me stuff like this on my French page. Wish I could paint that well. Thanks, Hisoku. I appreciate it. Not bad, not bad. Taking a midday break. How you doing? I'm doing well, Tim. I'm doing well. This is like the first bust display model, you know, non-gaming miniature thing that I've painted since doing Vi for Crimson Brush, so sort of trying to ease back into it with something simple. Thanks, man. I saw your Spiro you posted in the Discord before. That looked cool. I think we need to go even darker here on the side of his forehead. I think we're too light. Let's make it darker. I bought a 3D printer to print stuff like this, busts, etc., so I could practice on bigger things, but having so many problems with the printer. Yeah, I don't own a 3D printer. I tend to just buy these from companies. I have no patience for 3D printing. I know, like, once you work it all out, I'm sure it's really cool to be able to print anything you want, but I feel like I don't have the patience for it, which is kind of, you know, I'm happy to have the patience to paint a model that takes ages, but I do not have the patience to work out the technology. Thanks, mate. I'll see how you go. We'll probably end up being one of those models that sits half done for about a year. Yeah, fair enough, Tim. I mean, the Spears are fun to paint. They're just enjoyable. Like, I'm sure you'll feel it and get back to it at some stage if you feel like it. But yeah, that Rumpelstiltskin guy is a creepy model too. So, Hisoku, do you paint like gaming models normally, or do you paint this kind of stuff? Just haven't done a whole lot of it yet. I don't know why I did that. Sometimes you do something on the model and you're like, what am I doing? And we just work it out later. I have lots of Warhammer. Fair enough. I thought we were being careful. Oh, my overhead froze? Oh no. It's doing it again, is it? This is no good. Sorry guys, 1 minute. Took a while, but the camera has frozen. We're back. Sorry, what is happening? Oh, it's actually ran out of battery. That's no good. Give me a second and let's see if we can get it powered. And is the camera working again? No. 1 second. Yes. Alright, well, let's see how long this lasts. If it doesn't last very long, then we'll have to call it here, but it won't happen again. We had to make 2 streams with a mistake for everything to go wrong, but next time we'll be even more prepared. We're still learning, folks, we're still learning, but that's alright. So where were we? Face. Yeah, I'm a bit unconvinced by the skin tone on this guy, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'm not too sure if I really like it at the moment, but that's okay, that's okay. Might get some kind of colour in this skin, maybe that'll make me like it a bit more. I think I went a bit too desaturated with the skin tone. And I don't know, something about it I'm not loving. That's okay. I think this will be the last time I can paint this guy with this set of colours on the palette, so maybe next time I'll reset it, use some different colours, or different mixes at least, and maybe I'll like it a bit more. That's okay. Learn by doing, gotta work out all the issues somehow. Yeah, exactly. I think he's still looking alright, but I'm not loving it, I guess. Not loving it. What do you guys think? Any advice? On how it's shaping up? Got to paint that poor man's shirt. I will obviously do that at some stage, but I think I'll probably get the face like fairly close to complete before I move on, and then go to his hair and stuff. So yeah, I think it looks epic. Well, thanks, Jonas. I appreciate that. We'll see. I'll post a photo on Instagram once I finish up for the session. So you guys can see what it actually looks like, rather than just what this stream camera is making it look like. Let's try and wash a bit of color onto him, maybe. Although maybe that's too yellow. Are you going to World Model Expo, Jonas? You're in Europe, aren't you? Because I will certainly be there. First time going to an international show. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Might get a little bit more yellow into these highlights. Maybe this is too yellow though. Back and forth. Back and forth. So, where are my photographs? There. So what I'll do is I'm just going to do a quick re-highlight of every little specular highlight on his skin, and then maybe that'll help me reassess where it's sitting at the moment. When I'm not feeling too good about how a model's looking, that usually helps. Just going through, placing all the highlights back, maybe throwing some shadows back where they should be, almost like redoing a sketchy phase. That can help. I want to, but I'm moving in April to the USA. There's a slight chance I might make it. I already promised Jared a drink, so I might just have to keep my word. Fair enough. Yeah, it'd be cool. Well, I'll certainly be there, and Jared will be there, so you'll have at least 2 Australians you can hang out with. Not that I'm sure you don't know plenty of people who will be there. I don't know anyone who will be there. I know Jared, and that's it. Where in the USA are you moving to? Yeah, so just throwing back in some super bright highlights to try and make the skin look more skin. Hopefully that'll make me feel better about him. And then usually what I do when I'm moving to Hawaii, awesome. That's certainly a very nice place to move to. Been a couple times, I'd like to go back. Yeah, whenever I'm feeling a bit not confident about where a model's heading, usually we'll take a break, take a bunch of photos, and like when I'm just sitting on the couch watching some whatever bullshit on TV, I'll just look through the photos and try and get ideas of what to do next. And so that I have can start the next session kind of reinvigorated ideas on the model, as opposed to just kind of painting around and not really knowing where I'm going. I don't know if that happens to anyone else, but sometimes I feel like I if I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just moving paint on the model and nothing's happening. But having the break, looking at the pictures, getting your ideas in line for the next session certainly helps me a lot. I'll probably go maybe another 15, maybe another 20 minutes, and then I might call it. I want to get the face at least to a point where I'm pretty happy with it before I end the session. If I'm not feeling too good about the model, then I don't want to leave it with me not feeling good, because then I'm not going to want to come back to painting it. So I certainly want to end the session feeling good, so that way I'll want to come back and do more. Gonna make going to shows a lot harder, that's for sure. Certainly, I can't imagine there's very many painting shows in Hawaii, unfortunately. So just plopping in some pretty extreme highlights on his face again. Hopefully in the right spots. And that kind of always makes the model look cool, I think. Regardless of whether they're like blended or whatever. Just having some nice little specular highlight points, I think, always makes things look good with skin, if they're placed relatively well. The hair works well with the skin. Yeah, thanks. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to end up, or how I'm going to end up completing the hair, because I've not really painted anything with sort of this like platinum blonde like hair color before, so it's going to be an interesting one to work out. This is sort of the, if you can see on the palette up here, the kind of colors I've been using. They're very close to the skin, but I'll come back to that later, I think. But I'm glad the color scheme's working out. I don't think you were here for when I was talking about it, Jonas, but I'm kind of basing it on Thranduil from Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit, Legolas's dad. So like wood elfy green, like it'll be, I think, darker, like a very blackish green for the cloth, and then I just want like a real stark face and hair against really dark cloth, kind of like the Jodie Muir art this model's based on, but not so black and grey for the skin. That's the idea, at least. Alright. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of a further away look. It's actually, I am feeling better about it. It's looking alright. What do you guys do when you're not feeling that great about the direction of a model? Do you tend to pack it up to work on something else? Do you tend to stall out? Do you just push through it? What's everyone else's sort of thoughts? Like I said, I tend to On like the big projects I paint for a competition, I tend to take a ton of photos of them, like definitely at the end of every painting session, but sometimes like during the painting session, so that whenever I'm having a break I can have it like right in front of me. Haven't seen many painted versions of this bust. Excited to see it finished. Thanks, Jonas. Yeah, well, it's still pretty new, right? So I can't imagine there's a huge amount out there that are finished up. Seamus, throw it in the bin and buy a new one. Claire, make you look at it and tell me what to do. I'm the whip criminal. Yep. Yeah, spam in the group chats with the work in progress photos. That's it. You got to force everyone else to live your misery when you're working on something. I feel like maybe see this brow. I'm not super convinced by this little sweep. Something's going wrong there. I think something's going wrong there that I'll have to do differently. I'm not really sure what. The Vi was our best show. We all looked at it far more than anyone not painting it should. That is maybe the case. I really don't think I posted that many work in progress photos of it, to be totally honest. I think you exaggerate. Let's harden the line of the shadow here. So because this is caused by his nose, it's going to be quite a hard line. Again, I'm leaving the shadow side for another time. I'm not really going to work on it too much today. Do I still have the Vi model? I sure do, Jonas. I can grab it if you want to have a look. Maybe when I finish up. I don't think I'll sell it or anything. I don't know. I can't decide. You know, first model I win a show with, I feel like it's hard to want to sell. I might have to just financially at some stage, but I certainly don't really want to. So yeah, it's just over in the cabinet. I'll grab it in a little while for you to have a little look at. I know Seamus is dying to see it again, isn't he? Posted a before photo with no adjustments and asked for our thoughts. I'll buy it for $20. No thanks. I know I said I wasn't going to work on the shadow, but it seems to be what I'm doing, so I might stop myself. I know it looks real strange, but sometimes if it looks a bit too strange, it's distracting, so I need to do something to it. First and only. Hey man, I mean, you know, you never know, right? I might never win another competition again, who knows? I'll certainly try to, but we can only try so hard. I think this line of shadow needs to be a little bit straighter. Too dark. That's why I said maybe you're a much better chance than me still. Well, hey, if Dave's gonna spend the next year judging instead of entering after Arc, then we're all gonna have a much better shot. Alright. I think we're looking okay. Might be getting ready to call him here for the day. Maybe not. It's a kind of cool thing with about how you guys have so many comps with rotating judges. Yeah, well, it is good. There is certainly a fairly small pool of judges in Australia. I don't think we really have the same sort of diversity in the judges because there's just not as many people, I guess. But we have a lot of competitions, I guess, for a small country. What do you guys have in the US? You got Nova, you got LVO, you got Golden Demon. Golden Demon's a bit different though, obviously. Dave, Andy, Jared, Jordan, Nat. Well, Jordan's not judged anything, neither have I before. But presumably I might be judging next Crimson Brush. Because, you know, they ask the person who won the best show to judge the next one. So Trent has spoke to me about it a little bit, but not very much. I'm sure, you know, it's a year away, so plenty of time to work that out. Jordan would be a great judge as well. Kyle and Sebastian, yeah, well, Sebastian obviously has judged guilds every time, and he will judge it again this time, I'm sure. Possibly. Didn't mean that list as judges, just as some great painters that are sometimes. Oh, fair enough. Well, thanks, man. Yes. For the US, mostly just Nova and LVO. Yeah, fair enough. But they're big competitions, right, in comparison to our ones. Like Nova has 4 times the amount of entries as Crimson. What will you do when you're no longer in the group chat pre-Crimson? Cry, probably. Yeah, exactly. Well, I will be in the group chat. You guys, I assume, will just have a separate one, excluding me. I'll feel very sad. Just be messaging people on my own while no one's sending me any photos of their models. That'll be very sad. Unvetted Demon. But I said what I said. I'm strongly considering trying to get to Demon next year in America, but I mean, a lot of factors are going to go into whether I can or not. But I would really like to. If I judge Crimson Brush next year, that would mean like in the time in between August and May, I won't have anything to enter, so I might want to take that time to do something for Golden Demon. We'll see. I don't know if I'd have much of a chance at Demon, but it'd be fun to go to. Just to see all the models and everything. think I'm going to have to, like the regular skin tone, I'm going to have to shift up this shadow tone a little bit. If I'm drifting out of frame, let me know. Apologies. Might time out Seb for not listing me in the cool cat names for judging. I think you should. Just ban him. No. I'm sure you'll be, you know, a good painter one day, Seamus. That's too harsh. You're a good painter already. You just need time to cook. I mean, everyone does, right? But if I go to CV next year, you'll place higher than me. Are you going to try to go to Crimson Brush next year, Sebastian? Well, if you do, maybe I'll be judging and I can maybe guarantee you either do or don't place higher than Seamus. No, of course not. You need at least a gold or 3 silvers. Yeah, well, that's based on this Crimson Brush, Seamus. We don't know what the next one will bring. You might do much better. I reckon, surely, another year of painting, you'll do much better. So, right now, a lot of these lines in his face are quite hard, like really angular. Don't know if they'll stay that way, but I'll try to soften the lines, make them a little more blended, or at least less harsh. It's not too bad. Like he's got a very angular face. Like he's a snooty elf, you know. They tend to have pretty angular faces. But I do want to tone down the harshness of these lines by the time he's finished. We'll see how we go. So the thing you want to do some year soon. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it would be good. It's not often that people from other countries manage to make it to Australia to enter competitions, right? So I'm sure it'd be cool to have some more people coming in from around the world to go to our competitions. You know, there's people from Australia that certainly try to get overseas to go to their competitions. Well, Jared mostly, but me hopefully soon, and others I know want to go. I know Liam wants to go to more competitions overseas, so yeah. $27-hour flight. Yeah, well, it is long. Yeah, make it one way. Stay in Australia for a while. Actually, Jonas, you'll have to come to Australia for a competition sometime, because Hawaii to Australia is not that long a flight, to be totally honest. It'll be less time than going to Europe for a competition to get to Australia. If you're in Hawaii, I think it's only like 10 hours or so, maybe less. JC hit him with a work visa. Get a sponsorship. Alright, I think I'm going to call him here. Probably. Oh, well. Did the camera just conk out again? I think so. How good is that timing, though? I mean, you know, not good, but... Alright, well, look, I'll try and grab Vi so you can have a quick look at that, and then I'll call it here. We'll give the camera 2 seconds to think about what it's done, and then turn it back on, give you a quick look at that, and then we'll call it here for the day. That's pretty good timing. Well, you know, I prefer it not to happen. Alright, I'll be back in a sec. Where is it? Okay. Maybe the webcam will be the way to show it. Where are you getting that number, Craggy? 16 hours to Melbourne. Yeah, but no one goes to Melbourne. We're talking about going to Sydney. Yeah. 10 hours to Sydney, the better city. Exactly. Alright, we'll have to do this quick enough that you get a look. Did that work? What's going on? There we go. Zoom out a little bit. What do we reckon? We'll get a bit of a view of it. It's hard to get the whole thing in frame. Well, there we go, actually. So, is that in focus for you? There we are. Nice start, solid whip. Thanks, man. So, we got our main angle. We got our nice blue light at the back. I don't know if you've seen from the photos, but I've done like a little bit of extra graffiti under these, here and here. I quite like, there's a few like little angles that I'm really happy with that that make me really pleased with how this thing came out. When are you painting Heimerdinger? I don't know, when they bring out a good looking Heimerdinger, I guess. Thanks, Jonas, I appreciate it, man. There's a few spots like here, I think. I'm actually really happy with this angle where like we get like the glow of the fist starts to be shown. I quite like how it looks. And then on the back here as well, like maybe I'll zoom in a touch. Camera's got a bit wobbly. You know, like a few little things I'm really pleased with how they turned out. See this, like where you're getting the light from the front on her arm and the light from the back on her arm. Like sometimes these spots in between two lights I think can look a bit off. I don't know, maybe you guys think it looks off, but I like it. Same with the face. Like I'm quite happy with how this this lighting on the face has come through. Yeah. If there's anything in particular you guys want to see of it, let me know now before the camera explodes again and we have to call it. I'll bring Elfie back on. We'll have a quick look at him as well. Where he ended up for the day. Whoa. Oh, whoops. Not too bad. A pretty good effort, I think, for the day. Little cast shadow from her hair. Yeah, so just here. A little cast shadow from the hair. Yeah, I used to have earlier on that cast shadow line was kind of mirrored with this, see like this little bag under her eyes. Sorry, it's going a bit out of focus. Little bag under her eyes, and it kind of came out a bit more, but it was looking a bit janky. You know, in the arcane art style, like they have quite a really pronounced line under their eyes, which looks really cool, but on this sculpt I didn't think it would work super well, so I didn't do it quite the same way. Another look at the base. I'm pretty happy with the base. I think there's maybe more that could be done to it, but my worry was if I did too much to the base, it would detract from the figure. And like, you know, if the judges are, you know, giving your models a fair looking at, then hopefully they're gonna understand that you know, you're choosing not to paint the base quite as much to make the figure stand out more. Heading to bed. Thanks for joining, Seamus. I appreciate you tuning in and jumping in the chat every so often. And hopefully I get to meet you in person at WME. If not, I'm sure I'll meet you in person one day. I'll see you again soon. Alright, yeah, so that's Vi. Pretty cool model. She's just sitting in the cabinet now. Her plinth needs a clean. It's looking a bit funky, isn't it? Not great. Character standing on some rocks, TM. Let's look at Elf again, because that's what we are actually painting today. Zoom in. Last look at him before we call it for the day. What do we reckon? Oh, that is not in focus at all. So, let's get the light going down a little. I think pretty good. He makes you feel judged. Well, that's nice. He certainly does. Merc House. Do I take custom requests or work? Look, kind of, but also not really. Reach out to me on Instagram. It's Alexi K Paints on Instagram. I'm not doing a lot of commissions at the moment, but depending on what it is, maybe. But right now I'm mostly just doing the pieces I want, and then, you know, maybe selling them if collectors want them. I'm not really doing a ton of commissions at the moment, but I have in the past, and I'm sure I will again in the future, because this is pretty much all I do. But hello, and thanks for joining in the chat as well. So yeah, this is where we got in the session. I think he's looking alright. I'm pretty happy with how he's looking now. I think the shadow's looking good, looking a little stronger. Our main light, I think, is looking pretty convincing on his face. We'll have to blend it and soften it a little, and I'll shift around the colors. One of the things, I think, I'll take a photo and you guys will be able to see it on Instagram, but the skin tone on my camera, at least what I'm seeing, I think is probably a little warmer than what he looks like in real life to my eyes. So I think I'm going to have to get some more yellow, more warmth in his skin tone a little bit, because I want him to look like he's got quite a warm skin tone. You know, we want to make him look like he's standing in the sun. So the idea is our light's coming from here, so I think the lights are placed pretty well on his face. Obviously there's plenty of work to do on his hair. And the shadows, you know, as you turn him, seem to line up pretty well with his nose, right? Yeah, pretty well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll raid someone. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? We gotta raid someone. Let's see how we go. Who can we raid? Let's have a look. Thanks for joining, Sebastian. I appreciate it. Thanks, Merkhouse. If you want to see more of my painting, I'm going to be streaming pretty regularly. I don't know where you're located, but I have one scheduled for every Sunday night in Australia, and then I'll try and pop on every once in a while when I can, just a bit more randomly. So I'll have a dedicated time Sunday night, and then random times other days. And thanks for the follow, man. I appreciate it. Okay, where are we going? Who should we do? All right. Thanks for joining again, guys. I really appreciate it. I will be back streaming again, hopefully again through the week. I'll literally only paint this guy on stream. So, if you want to see how he turns out, tune in again soon. See you next time.